The Hidden Emotional Economy, the Home Truth Search Revealed Plus. The invisible drain loop, the kitchen light flickered as she stared at her phone screen, the glow illuminating something she'd never typed out loud before. Her thumb hovered over the search bar, the words forming slowly, hesitantly. Why do I feel empty, even though I have everything? She pressed enter before she could stop herself. She wasn't alone in that moment. Millions of women type those exact words every month. Their search is revealing a pattern. Researchers are now calling the hidden emotional economy the invisible cost of building everyone else's life while quietly losing your own. This isn't about motherhood being hard. Everyone knows that already. This is about something deeper, something that doesn't show up in parenting books or wellness blogs. It's about the slow drain that happens when your identity becomes a service, when your days blur into an endless loop of giving without ever receiving anything that feels like yours. She loved her family. That was never the question, but somewhere between the morning chaos and the bedtime routine, she'd forgotten what it felt like to want something just for herself, not because it served someone else, but because it made her feel alive. The search results didn't offer solutions. They offered solidarity. Thousands of forum posts, articles, and confessions from women asking the same thing in different words. Is this all there is? When did I disappear? How do I come back without breaking everything? What would you have done in her place? Part of her felt guilty even searching, as if wanting more meant being ungrateful, as if ambition had to disappear the moment motherhood began. Society teaches us that a good mother empties herself completely, that selflessness is the only acceptable form of maternal love. But emptiness isn't selflessness. It's depletion, and there's a difference between giving from abundance and giving from nothing left. According to recent psychological studies, nearly 60% of stay-at-home mothers report feeling a loss of personal identity within the first 2 years, not because they regret their choice, but because the role itself demands a kind of erasure that no one warned them about. The emotional labor is invisible. The mental load is constant, and the recognition is non-existent. She scrolled through her search history later that week. How to find yourself again. Small business ideas for moms. Can you rebuild your identity after kids? Each query was a breadcrumb leading back to the same realization. She wasn't broken, she was just buried. The invisible drain loop works like this. You wake up already behind. The needs start immediately. Breakfast, lunches, lost shoes, someone's crying, someone needs help. You move through the day in reactive mode, solving problems that never end because new ones appear the moment you finish the last. By noon, you've made 100 micro decisions: what's for lunch, whose turn it is, how to handle the tantrum, whether the rash needs a doctor. Each decision pulls from the same depleting reservoir of mental energy that no one else sees or measures. Then came the doubt, the kind that whispers louder than failure. Maybe this is just how it is now. Maybe I should be grateful and stop wanting more. But gratitude and fulfillment aren't the same thing. You can be thankful for your family and still feel like you're disappearing inside your own life. She started noticing the pattern everywhere. In her friends' careful smiles when someone asked how they were doing. In the Facebook posts that looked perfect but felt hollow. In the way mothers apologized for everything, for needing a break, for wanting something, for taking up space. The emotional economy runs on invisible currency, patience, attention, care, sacrifice, energy. It's spent constantly but never replenished. And unlike financial economies that track inputs and outputs, this one operates in the dark, making women feel like their exhaustion is personal failure rather than structural design. She almost gave up until one message changed everything. A friend she hadn't spoken to in months sent her a link. No context, just, "This made me think of you." It was an article about women who'd started small businesses from home, not because they had grand ambitions, but because they needed to remember what it felt like to build something that wouldn't be immediately destroyed or forgotten. One woman made candles between school drop-offs. Another designed printable planners while her kids napped. A third started a consulting business doing the exact work she used to do before kids, but on her own terms, her own schedule. What struck her wasn't their success. It was their honesty. They talked about the guilt, the setbacks, the days when nothing worked and they wondered why they'd even tried. But they also talked about the shift. The moment when they realized that wanting something for themselves didn't make them selfish. It made them whole. She thought about her own skills. The things she'd been good at before her identity became mom. She'd been a graphic designer. She'd loved creating visual stories, solving problems through color and composition. That version of herself felt like someone from another lifetime. But the tools were still there. The skills hadn't disappeared. They'd just been filed away under not urgent for so long she'd forgotten they existed. Sometimes growth doesn't look like progress, it looks like staying. She opened her laptop that night after everyone was asleep, just to look, just to see what was possible. She found tutorials on freelance design platforms, articles about building a portfolio while working part-time, stories from women who'd started with one small client and slowly built something sustainable. The idea didn't come from a business book, it came from the mess on her kitchen table. Her daughter's school needed new flyers for the spring fundraiser. The ones they'd used before looked rushed and boring. She offered to redesign them, not for money, just to see if she still could. Just to feel that particular satisfaction of creating something that didn't immediately get undone. It took her 3 nights of working after bedtime. But when she sent the finished design to the school coordinator, something shifted. The response was immediate. "This is incredible. Can you do more? We could actually pay you for this." Pay, the word felt strange. Not because of the money, but because someone was valuing something she'd made. Something that came from her mind, her effort, her skill. Something that existed independently of her role as a mother, or wife, or household manager. She smiled, not because it was easy, but because it was finally hers. The first few clients came through word of mouth. Small projects. A logo here, a menu design there. Nothing that would replace a full-time income, but enough to create a rhythm that felt different from the endless maintenance of daily life. She wasn't chasing millions, just freedom. The kind that fits between nap times and school pickups. The kind that proves you're still capable of something beyond the invisible labor that disappears the moment it's done. But the resistance came from unexpected places. Well-meaning comments about not spreading yourself too thin. Questions about whether she really needed to work when her partner already had a job. Subtle suggestions that her time would be better spent enjoying her kids while they're young, as if building a sense of self somehow competed with loving her children. Part of her still felt guilty for wanting more, as if ambition had to disappear when motherhood began. The cultural script is powerful. Good mothers sacrifice. Good mothers put everyone else first. Good mothers find fulfillment in service alone. But that script was written in a different era, by people who never had to live it, for women who weren't given any other choice. What would you have done in her place? She kept going anyway. Not out of defiance, but out of necessity. The version of herself that only existed in relation to others was slowly suffocating. She needed to remember what it felt like to be a person, not just a function. According to recent economic studies, small home-based businesses led by women are growing 40% faster than other segments, not because of some trend, but because women are quietly rejecting the myth that they have to choose between motherhood and personhood. They're proving that clarity often beats capital, that you don't need a massive investment to start. You just need to start. She learned to protect her boundaries in small ways. An hour in the morning before everyone woke up. 2 evenings a week after dinner. She stopped apologizing for needing time to work on something that mattered to her. She stopped framing it as a favor she was asking and started treating it as a need she was meeting. Her workspace was still her kitchen counter, but it no longer felt like chaos. It felt like possibility. The transformation wasn't dramatic. There was no viral moment or sudden windfall, just slow, steady progress, a growing portfolio, more referrals. Enough income to feel like she was contributing financially, not just emotionally. Enough autonomy to remember what it felt like to make decisions about her own time. But more than the money or the work itself, it was the shift in how she saw herself. She wasn't just mom anymore. She was also designer, business owner, creator. The roles could coexist. They didn't have to compete. Then came the moment that made everything clear. Her daughter asked her one morning, "Mom, what are you working on?" She explained the project, a branding package for a local bakery. Her daughter studied the screen, then said quietly, "I didn't know you could make things like that." "That's really cool. That's really cool." Not "that's nice" or "good job, Mom," but genuine admiration. Her daughter was seeing her as a person with skills and passions, not just as the one who made meals and signed permission slips. She realized then that visibility matters. Not just for her, but for her kids. They needed to see that mothers are people, that women can build things, that wanting something for yourself isn't selfish, it's human. The invisible drain loop breaks when you stop accepting invisibility as the cost of motherhood. What helped her most wasn't just finding the right tools, though things like Canva Pro made design work faster and more efficient when time was scarce. It was realizing that she didn't need permission to start small. She didn't need a perfect plan or ideal circumstances. She just needed to believe that her work mattered, even if it happened in fragments between everything else. She tested a few platforms before finding what truly worked. Some were too complicated, others too expensive. But eventually she found resources that fit her reality, her budget, her schedule, her skill level. This isn't a promotion, just something that made her path a little lighter. She'll leave information below if you want to explore it. But the real transformation wasn't about tools or tactics, it was about permission. Permission to want something. Permission to take up space. Permission to build a life that included her, not just everyone around her. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes only and does not replace consultation or assistance from a professional. Always consult a qualified professional for any questions related to finance, business, or investments. 6 months in, she looked at her calendar and noticed something had changed. The days still had the same structure: school runs, Meals, bedtimes, but woven through them were pockets of work that felt like breathing, projects that engaged her mind, conversations with clients that reminded her she had valuable skills, income that came from her effort, not someone else's paycheck. She wasn't escaping her life. She was expanding it. The guilt didn't disappear completely. Some days she still wondered if she was doing enough, being enough, balancing everything correctly. But those doubts were quieter now, drowned out by the evidence that she could be multiple things at once: mother, partner, creator, entrepreneur. The hidden emotional economy still exists. The invisible labor still happens. But she'd found a way to stop letting it consume everything. She'd found a way to fill her own reservoir instead of just draining it for everyone else. Sometimes growth doesn't look like progress, it looks like staying present, staying committed, staying true to the quiet voice that insisted she was more than the sum of her services. When she poured her coffee the next morning, it was still hot because this time she wasn't rushing. She was building a business, yes, but more than that, building a version of herself that included all the parts she thought she had to leave behind. The ambitious part, the creative part, the part that needed to make things that lasted longer than a clean kitchen or a packed lunch. Her story isn't unique. It's being lived right now by thousands of women who are quietly refusing to accept the narrative that motherhood means the end of personal growth. They're starting businesses, creating content, building communities, launching projects, all while managing the endless demands of family life. They're not superhuman. They're just done pretending that wanting something for themselves makes them less devoted to their families. They've realized that modeling self-erasure isn't actually teaching their children anything valuable, but modeling resilience, creativity, and the courage to build something meaningful. That's a lesson worth passing on. Tell us what part of her story resonated with you most and where you're watching from. Your journey might just inspire the next one. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video.